Hi there, everybody. My name is Eric Johnson. I'm the Artistic Director of Honolulu Theater for Youth. We're located way out in Hawaii. This is our 70th season. We're celebrating a big birthday this year for the company. And we are a theater place, which means that we produce theater and now media projects for Hawaii, telling the stories of this place. Most of our ensemble, we have an ensemble of artists and designers, and now a few programmers thrown in, and they all have deep connections to Hawaii. Most of them are from Hawaii, and we are really honored to do the work of thinking about our community and serving our community through telling stories. Let's see, we started doing more work focused on the Native Hawaiian population a number of years ago, and Moses Goods, who's an artistic associate with us, has been the primary driver of that work. So I'm gonna pass to Moses and let him tell about himself and the work that he does here with our company.
Hey. Aloha mai kako. My name is Moses Goods. I am a Native Hawaiian actor, storyteller, theater maker, originally from the island of Maui, although now I live and I'm based in Honolulu, where I am currently an artistic associate with Honolulu Theater for Youth. I'm also the lead creator of Ki'i Aloa'a, an augmented reality experience that's focused around ki'i, or statues, here in our community. And I should pass it now to Andrew.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Andrew. I am a juggler turned programmer, as HTYA likes to call it, or developer. I was living on Oahu, where I was fortunate enough to run into Eric and Moses while they were working on Imi Aloa'a, which was, they will tell you a little bit about in the future, but I fell into augmented reality via game development and immediately saw the ability or application of augmented reality to performance, and was super intrigued by creating impossible things on stage, and am excited to take that into the future with HTY and other productions. I've been lucky enough to work with everybody here.
So how did we get here? Well, HTY loves to collaborate. We've long collaborated with lots of different communities across different fields. And when we met Andrew and a few other collaborators here in town and starting to think about developing augmented reality work, we were really impressed that he had a background in theatrical performance and in developing. So we saw some of his early work that he did in this regard, and then it was just part of a team that included several other programmers. We had researchers, we had composers, we had animators that were all sort of working on the project in different aspects. But I'm going to throw it to Andrew and let him introduce his work prior to this project.
Sure, thank you. So as I mentioned before, I was a professional juggler. I got into game development through some friends, and through working with Unity was introduced to augmented reality. When I came across AR, I immediately saw the potential for doing things on stage that aren't really possible, at least on a small or fringe festival size performance, especially because almost everyone in an audience has a cellular device which is AR capable. So I created a show called Dr. Dodgy's Intergalactic Auto Mechanical Circus, where people would download the application before the show, and then I would trigger AR experiences that they could see while I was on stage. And I believe we have a clip. Well, hopefully everybody enjoyed a little clip. This was some early work that I had, and sort of inspired the ability to do impossible things on a stage. Through this, I met Eric and Moses, well, through a couple of other connections, and was inspired by Moses and Eric's concepts for Imi Aloa'a, and was incredibly fortunate to work with them, and some other amazing developers, and as Eric mentioned, animators, musicians, and a whole crew of artists. And I'm excited to take this technology into the future.
Our company, just in really quick, during COVID, we, as so many theaters all around the world experienced, we had an ensemble of artists and designers and composers, and we began to think about how could we either had the choice of laying off all of these people over that time, or working in new media and working in different ways. And so we produced a television show with our company, and we learned how to do it with a whole bunch of free 90-day tryouts on different softwares. And somehow we pulled off a television show and began producing in that media. And then Moses came to us with the idea of thinking about augmented reality in a way that could place specific stories in specific locations. And I'll let him talk about the significance of that. And so we decided we'd do the same thing. And we met Andrew and a couple of other programmers and designers and developers who work in this field. And we started to create a live piece of theater that was also a piece of technology, and those two combined in a project called Imi Aloa'a.
Now, what we're doing here is uncharted territory, combining something traditional to us with something very new. So we're just continuing what our ancestors have been doing forever, which is to use this new type of technology to further tell our mo'olelo, our stories.
Oh, this story is made up of so many different stories, including your story.
I think one of the really neat things about the intention of this project is it's bringing the oldest kind of thoughts and stories and intentionality to some of the newest technologies. We are using iPads alongside live actors to tell a story in a new way. Wind goddesses fly through the air. If you look at the wall, it comes to life. And then each group will travel out with their guide around to 4 different sites. We're calling them Pico in this case. And 2 of them are here on our campus, and then 2 of them are across the street at the Hawaii State Art Museum.
The audience will have live guides in addition to a guide that will appear digitally. And that guide, that virtual guide, is Kukalahale, the wind.
In this show, we've decided to bring a different perspective on how we might see and hear kukalahale. So we thought, what kinds of colors and shapes, what kind of clothing, what kind of look would help us to capture what kukalahale feels like. After we filmed in front of the green screen, then our amazing designers, our augmented reality, our AR designers, took that and helped to transform it into something that you could see as AR, so that there is kukalahale floating right before us.
You know, we're a theater company. We do actors in live space. And this is challenging us to reach out into other communities that we might not necessarily work with. And where we're connecting with all of these different groups and these different ways of storytelling is, I think that there's a language of creativity and imagination that allows us to connect and make some really exciting things, some new ways of working for us.
All right. So that is was a little clip from our first augmented reality project we attempted as a company. I'm going to pass it over to the creator and mastermind behind that project to talk a little bit more about that. So Moses.
Yeah. So the whole idea for both these the phases of this project, Imialoa, excuse me, and Ki'ialoa, the two phases of our project, is one of the many products of the pandemic. During the pandemic, we were all forced to sit usually in our homes and think and ponder and reflect on ourselves as individuals, as the communities that we're a part of, or the nations that we happen to be in. One of uh the big conversations that was happening nationally were about statues. They took that moment in time to reflect and dissect and discuss why certain statues exist where they do, because many of the statues on a national level are of historical figures, and many of those figures are triggering or angering or damaging to many of the communities that they happen to be in, because these statues are of historical figures that are colonizers or racists or supremacists. And I guess the nation chose that moment in time to pull many of those statues down physically and literally. They were removed because the people were fed up with having these things represent their communities. That had me stop and think about the statues that we have in our community here in Hawaii, which are different than what you would see in a national level, because we have a different relationship with these statues. We don't, most of the statues, for the most part, we don't um uh we're not triggered by, because they're of our cultural figures, our leaders, our chiefs, our ali'i is what we call them. And so we have a different relationship with them. And so what I wanted to explore, what that relationship was with the statues around our community. So that's where the first idea came from. Again, we're in the pandemic, right? So uh even gathering around statues was questionable. So how do we tell these stories and bring people together? That's where the augmented reality idea came in. So let's see if we can tell these stories about these statues and our relationships that we have with these statues, using something that doesn't have to bring everyone together, that we can, practice social distancing around. So that's when we started to look into augmented reality, to see if we could use that to tell our stories. As theater makers, use augmented reality as another way to get our stories out there. So that's sort of when the two ideas came together. And from there, we went to the theater, to Honolulu Theater for Youth, and decided to, before we tell the stories of the statues, let's just make a actual theater piece called Imialoa. Also, that's the first phase, and that's when we the clip that you just saw. That's when we brought people together with iPads and took them outdoors so we could distance ourselves and tell the story that way. And then Ki'ialoa, the statue phase, happened after that. The word ki'i has several meanings. It means statue, but it also means to go out there and go to something. And loa'a means to obtain or to have. So the idea is to go to these ki'i, go to these statues, and get that story, get that knowledge, so then you have a different perspective and a different relationship with these ki'i, with these statues.
So one of the exciting things to me that I really learned on this project, and working with Moses and a whole team of Native Hawaiian collaborators, which Solomon Enos was was a visual artist and just a great thinker, really influenced a lot this project. But the Hawaiian concept of time and place became the centerpiece of Imialoa'a. And in the Hawaiian concept of time, as I understand it, it's not seen as a linear thing. So a monument, in some ways, doesn't make sense in the same way, because that place is holding all the stories from all of time, both stories that are ancient and predate that monument, and then stories that will happen in that place, are all housed there. And so in this way, augmented reality became a really powerful tool for us to place a variety of stories in one location, and allow for a complexity of experience that one place can hold many stories and many experiences over time. And this seemed to be the perfect media to explore that. Okay, so now I'm gonna introduce this is a video, a short video introducing our statue project, which was rolled out. Again, we had a much larger team working on this, and we decided to start with 2 statues, and it is now fully launched and operating around these 2 statues, and then we're right now in the process of deciding what comes next.
Aloha mai kākou, Moses Goods here, creator of Ki'ialoa'a, an augmented reality experience taking place at the Lili'uokalani and Kamehameha statues. Ki'ialoa'a explores the significance of ki'i, or statues, and the relationship that we have with them. To download the app for the experience, just scan the QR code located at either statue, or visit our website at htyweb.org to download in advance. Anyone can do the experience, and it's absolutely free. So, hele mai and enjoy Ki'ialoa'a. I think this project is it's a really interesting project for a theater to take on, especially with the second phase, which is Ki'ialoa'a, because you saw the QR codes that are there permanently. And with us as theater artists, the work that we create is not permanent, right? It's in that moment, it's ephemeral, and it happens in that we're all together in that moment. The experience happens and it's done and it's kept as a memory. Now the piece, at least at the statues, are permanent, and anyone can go at any time, meaning our reach is beyond what a normal theater would reach, and so that's a good thing. But it's like again, it's very different for a theater. But also I think there's a connection there that I'm going to try to make, and I hope I can make it, with traditional ki'i and modern ki'i. Modern ki'i are made out of stone and metal and things that last for eternity, maybe. But with a ki'i, and we mentioned that in the piece itself, they're made out of things that are not meant to last forever. They're made out of wood and things like that, which will eventually fade away. So there's an interesting thing that, something, an older practice is becoming a newer practice. And I think there's some good things about that, but it's also, I think, just important for us, at least as theater makers, not to forget the older practice that we do, and we're always going to go back to that and making theater that's going to be in that moment, but trusting in the value of these newer things like AR and things like that will reach a larger and broader audience that are, to my knowledge, really enjoying the experience that they're taking part in.